Today we wanted to go over a rock chip repair on a windshield. The pros and cons, how long does it last, what you can expect from getting your chip repaired or fixed on your windshield, and basically let you know how we do it and how long you should expect that will help prevent a crack in the future. So one, basically you get a chip in your glass from a rock flying over, hits your windshield, makes an impact, and can crack your glass. If it's not too bad that it cracked it, it'll leave a little chip. So either a star chip, or sometimes we call it a half crescent moon chip as well. But basically what we can do before those spread into cracks, we can actually go in there and repair it, fill it with resin, seal it up so that crack won't spread, which will allow you not to have to replace your windshield. So basically what we do first is we clean the glass, we inspect it, look at that chip, see where that impact is, because where that rock impacted it, there's usually a little divot, a little hole that goes into the top of the glass. Now your windshield is basically like a two-layer system, where in the middle there's actually a clear layer of air and basically a plastic shield between the glass. And so basically it penetrates that top outer part of the windshield, but usually doesn't go into the inner part of the windshield. So we can repair it on the outside and it doesn't affect anything on the inside. So we find that divot, we scratch it out, we kind of get any debris that might have been in there so we have a nice clean surface to work. Then what we do is take a little drill. So you'll see us drill that hole. And what we're doing is we're drilling that little impact into that middle layer of the glass so that our resin can go and spread throughout that entire chip. Once we drill that, we put our tool on it, it suction cups to the windshield, it levels it out, we have some prongs on there that we level it out, and then we have an injector that we put on the one side. That injector is going to line up perfectly into where that chip impact was and where we drilled that hole. Because that injector is actually what we're going to use to press in our resin and suck out excess air in that chip. So now that we got it lined up on the windshield and at that chip location, we're going to drop a couple drops of resin into that injector. So you'll see us take the squeeze bottle, drop some resin in, and then we screw a fitting on the top of it. And what that's going to do is create pressure. So as we screw it down further, it's creating pressure, pushing that resin into that chip and to all the little fingers and cracks of the chip. And then we're going to loosen it a little bit. And what's that doing is creating suction. So now it's sucking air out of that chip. So basically what we want to do is that a couple times. We want to put pressure in to push the resin and then suck air out and push in resin and suck air out. So basically we can get those air pockets out and fill that all up with this clear resin. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and use a UV curing lamp and we're going to cure that resin inside that crack. It only takes about 30 seconds with a UV flashlight. We can cure that resin, take our machine off, and then what we do is take a pit filler. So a pit filler is basically another part of resin that we drip on top of that chip. Basically where that little divot is, we'll fill it with that pit resin and then basically put a plastic shield on top of it to make it a nice smooth surface. Hit it again with that UV light, cure it, and then pull that film off, take a razor blade, scratch across the surface of the glass without scratching the glass. And what we're doing is basically making a nice smooth surface of that windshield again. So basically you're going to end up with a chip that's fixed and repaired. It doesn't have any more air in it. It has resin in it, so you really can't see the chip as much anymore. You'll see some outer lines of it a little bit, but it's not going to go away 100%. But the whole factor and the whole theory of this is that it's not going to crack. It's sealing it up with that glue, with that resin. Now heat and cold and those different temperature fluctuations aren't going to affect it, so it's not going to crack and split. If it cracks and splits before we're able to fix it, you're going to have to get the whole windshield replaced. We're not going to be able to really repair a crack. We're not going to stand behind a crack repair, things like that. So we recommend to get a full replacement. So that's why it's a good thing to actually get that chip filled and fixed sooner than later, because if you let it go longer, what happens is actually weather and rain and snow and everything can get inside that little crack in that divot, get moisture in there, and then say if it's a cold day in the winter and you turn your defroster on high heat, it's going to create a difference of temperature within that crack and where that water is, and that moisture is going to expand and contract, and that's what can really split and cause your chip to crack. A lot of people see that when they put their defrosters on in the morning. They didn't know they had a chip, and then all of a sudden they go back in their car after it's been warmed up for 10 minutes and there's a crack across the whole windshield. That's probably what happened. Moisture was in a chip, defroster hit it, different temperature, and it cracked it. Now, the pros and cons of getting your chip fixed, of course, are that it basically fixes it and prevents it from cracking. It's not 100% going to guarantee that it won't crack down the road, but a pretty good success rate that it doesn't. You can usually get your insurance company, depending on what glass coverage you have, to pay for chips for free for you, out of pocket. You don't have to pay anything. Call your insurance company, tell them you want us to do the work, and then we will go ahead and do it. And it's out of pocket, nothing to you, but yet secure in mind that you can get that chip fixed so that you don't have to get a full replacement. Now, they should last for a long time, but again, nothing's guaranteed. It could split down the road, but we've had really good success with it for this not to happen. So this was a little how-to, how we do it, the process, the tools, what we use to fill the resin with, and how that actually goes to fixing a chip in your windshield. Go ahead and comment down below how many windshields you've had to replace down the road and how many chips you've had to fix. So many people have to get chips fixed, and it's one of those things that it's definitely good to do beforehand so that it doesn't crack and split and cause you to replace that full windshield down the road.